Okay, hi everyone. So today I'll be doing a Q&A for no other reason than just because I don't really have anything else to film. So I asked on Instagram and on my community tab if anyone had any questions for me. I got some, so I will answer them. And I think I actually got some pretty interesting questions. And I thought we could look at the most recent albums I've had come in lately. And when I was looking for these, I realized that I haven't been buying much lately, but that's fine. That's actually the goal. So yeah, with that said, I'm gonna get started. So I didn't get very many questions from very many different people, but the people that did ask questions actually asked quite a few, and they asked some pretty good ones too, some that I think are rather interesting, so I'm excited to get into them. So with that said, I will. So I'll put the questions that the people asked on screen so you can see who it was from. But this first person asked, first question, how are you? Which I'm good, thank you for asking. And then they asked, what was the first K-pop music video you watched? Which I've discussed this before, but the first music video I ever watched was Boy in Love by BTS. Based on that song alone, I'm not entirely sure how I wasn't put off from K-pop, but and then they asked, when did you get into K-pop? So I got into K-pop in August of 2015, so it's been about 4.5 years. My 5th year's coming up soon. It doesn't feel like it's been that long because, I don't know, it just feels like time has flown by, because I remember it was a couple weeks before I started my junior year of high school that I got into K-pop, and now I'm out of college with my degree, so my life has changed a lot since I first got into K-pop, but yeah. And then they asked, what group got you into K-pop? Do you still stay in the group? So like I said, the first group I ever listened to was BTS. I was partially kind of interested in them. I think when I got into them was around the time of their release of The Most Beautiful Moments in Life Part 1. At least that's the most recent thing I remember being out. And like I Need You was like a thing. But I would, like I got into them like a good amount, I guess. Like I never was really super into them, but the first group I ever really stanned was 17. So I got into 17 because I saw someone, like I followed someone on Twitter who I think I followed them for like books. Like I follow a lot of booktubers and just people who like to read and stuff like that. So I think they were talking about 17, and so I was interested. And in regards to whether or not I still stan them, BTS I've never stanned, so I mean, yeah. But 17, I guess technically no, I don't stan them anymore. I mean, like, I don't necessarily stan them anymore, but that doesn't mean that I don't like still have a lot of respect for what they do, because I think 17 is kind of an outlier when it comes to just how great their performance is and how great a lot of the things they do are. Like, I still have a lot of respect for them in that aspect, but I just am not into them in the same way that I was before, just because I still firmly believe that 17, they put on some of the best performances. They do a lot of great things in regards to making their own music and stuff like that. So, I mean, technically, no, I don't stan them, but still, I have a lot of respect for them. And then the next question they asked is, who are your ults? And so, my ults, in terms of groups, are Hotshot, NCT, Uptension, CLC, Brave Girls, and Daya. In terms of just my ultimate biases and like people, it's Hojung from Hotshot, of course, but also every single other member of Hotshot. I technically consider them ults just because they're like my number one ult. And then Taeyong from NCT, Xiao from Uptension, Seunghee from CLC, as my channel name would suggest, Somi from Daya, although there's a situation with her that I won't discuss, and I don't actually have a bias in Brave Girls. I consider the group as a whole an ult, but I don't like bias a member, if that makes sense. But I do love them all a lot. And then the last thing they asked is 3 things you want to achieve in 2020. So at the beginning of the year, I did upload a video talking about my goals for the year in 2020, in terms of like my collecting and stuff. But I can almost assure you that those goals aren't the same as they are now. But I would say a few things that I want to do is, well, first of all, like if I'm talking just my personal life, I kind of want to get a job. So like I mentioned a little bit ago, I do have my degree, and I did graduate this past December, so still haven't found a job, but I mean, I'm definitely working on it. It's not that I'm completely jobless right now, but I do need to find a job that is in my field. That's a goal. But something else I want to do, like if I'm talking in terms of my collection, I definitely want to stop buying so much just because I'm going to have to start paying off my loans coming up soon. So I've definitely this year been trying to buy less. And I mean, it's been working just fine so far. Mostly just because I don't necessarily have the money to buy a whole lot of stuff, but I am also 100% trying to save. Another thing I want to do this year is I want to go to like as many concerts as I can. I don't know if that's like a weird goal, but like concerts for me are like one of the only things I really do. I've been to a lot of concerts in my lifetime, and I could definitely talk about that in a different video if there's interest at all, because I've definitely been to a lot of concerts. I started going to concerts in 2010. It's been 10 years since then, and I've definitely been to my fair share of different concerts over the years. But definitely as I've grown older, I've been going to less and less every year. There's just a lot of concerts that I'd like to go to. Actually, just today, the day I'm filming this, I just bought tickets to go see JBJ 95, and if it doesn't get canceled due to like the coronavirus and stuff like that, if it doesn't get canceled, I'll be going with a friend who I actually went with before I went to see 1-1 with her. That was actually the first time I met her, but I'm super excited about that, and that's kind of the experiences that I want to have. I want to, you know, go to different concerts, meet different friends. It's a goal for this year to do that, but it's also kind of just a goal for the years to come too, just because I'd really like to start traveling for concerts, and I'd just really like to start meeting friends, like meeting my online friends and people I know online, just because that's something really cool and fun about like being into K-pop and being online in this community, is that you meet so many nice people. Like in terms of concerts I'm going to, AB6, I was planning on going to AB6, but that one got canceled, which is totally fine. But since it got canceled, I was actually thinking about going to see NCT in June. I'm not entirely sure about that one, but I'm thinking as long as I mean, I definitely will get my refund for my AB6 ticket, but as long as that goes smoothly, I'll probably buy a ticket to see NCT, and maybe just depending if I can find someone to go with or something like that. I don't know. I'm not the person that likes to go to concerts by themselves, but I haven't really done it, but at this point in my life, I'm willing to try going to concerts by myself. But that was it from that person. So the next person, they asked a girl group that you're not sure if you want to collect or not. So actually there's a few. So I've been really getting into Everglow lately, so I've been thinking that I kind of want to collect them, but I also don't want to really commit to it because I have a hard time collecting new groups these days. Like, I know last year I started collecting a lot of new groups and new people just because, you know, since 101's disbandment, there was, you know, new groups and solos and stuff like that. But that's the exception with that is that I know those people already. Like with AB6, I know all of them. I already collected all of them before. It's just now I'm collecting them in a different context. But yeah, so that's kind of different, I guess. But like, I find it really hard to want to commit to collecting new groups. But Everglow is one that I've been thinking about lately just because I really like their music. I actually really like Asha, so potential new female bias, who knows. But yeah, they're one. Yeah, and also I've been thinking lately that I kind of want to go back and collect WJSN. So I collected them for a while, but they kind of stopped being a priority, so I just kind of stopped collecting them altogether. But I really do like their music, so I feel like it'd be kind of a shame to not like support them, just because I mean I have been following them since debut. I like them a lot, but I don't know. And also another group that I'm for sure gonna collect actually when they actually get a physical is Signature. So Signature has, I mean, they're made up of mostly girls from Good Day, and I watched the unit and that's how I got to know Good Day, and I really liked all of the girls from Good Day. Good Day wasn't really given a chance, so I'm really happy that Signature got their debut. So yeah, I want to support them, and I will be supporting them for sure. So, and then the next question they asked is what made you start collecting K-pop? So what made me start collecting K-pop is that at heart I've always been kind of a collector, especially of music, because music is like one of the biggest driving forces in my life. Like, I'm always listening to music and always looking for new releases, and it's just like the thing that I'm most invested in. Yeah, like before I started collecting K-pop, I collected vinyl. I like to buy CDs of all of my favorite albums. Like, I've always stuck to buying just, you know, physical releases of stuff that I really like. I've always just kind of like, I feel like inherently I'm just kind of a collector just because my grandpa is a huge collector of stuff, and I feel like that's where my collecting tendencies come from. It wasn't even really something I thought about. I just started buying the albums of the groups that I really liked. So that's kind of just what made me start collecting K-pop, is that I just wanted to support the music that I like and was listening to, just like I would have before. Okay, so moving on to the next person that asked a question. They left me quite a few. And I just want to say thank you to all the people that also left lovely messages along with the questions. Those things mean a lot to me. But with that said, I will start with the first question. So that was, what year did you first hear and get into K-pop? So I already discussed this. I started listening in 2015. I think the first year I technically heard it was probably like whenever Gangnam Style came out, but I absolutely hated that song, so I don't count it. Second question, something again I already went over. What was the first group you stand? Like I said, 17. The next question they have was, what was the first album you purchased? So the first one I ever purchased was 17 Carat. So, I mean, that was like one of the first K-pop albums I really got into. So, I mean, of course I bought it. Fourth question they had was, who is your alt groups and biases today? And again, I already discussed that. And then the next question is, how many photo cards do you have? So I think I have upwards towards 500 to 600. It's actually kind of a ridiculous number, but I feel like I have so many, especially considering I have 5 binders. But if you put the amount you have in number form, it seems like there's so many and it's kind of crazy. But yeah, based on the last time I looked at my spreadsheet, it's probably somewhere like around 500 to 600. I will put the exact amount on screen right now so you can see that. Oh, the next question is random, but what's your favorite color? So my favorite color is pink, actually. The walls of my room are actually pink, and I painted them like that because they're my favorite color. So their last question is an interesting one. They said, I would like to make my own channel, but I'm not really sure where to start, and I'm kind of nervous. Do you have any tips for people who want to make a collection channel that helped you when you started out? My basic number one tip is to just start. I would say do things more for yourself than anyone else. I made this channel so I could document my collecting journey. The part of this channel where I get to share it with other people and, you know, discuss and even make friends and things like that through this channel, that's just an added perk to having a channel. Like I said, the main thing that I use this channel for is documenting my collecting journey, where I'm at, what my goals are, what I get if I achieve the goals that I have. And yeah, so my number one tip is, if you want to make a channel, just start and do it for yourself. You don't have to have the best equipment to be on YouTube. All you really need is a camera. That's like it. You don't need anything else. And the last thing this person said is, and lastly, thank you for always making amazing videos. I love your channel. It's so inspiring, which thank you. That is so nice of you. So moving on to the next section. This next person asked, what initially attracted you to K-pop? Does that thing still attract you? Is there something else that keeps you interested in K-pop? I think the main thing about K-pop that was most interesting to me at the time is just that it was so different from anything that I was into, just because I was really into more rock-based music back then, and I still do really like that kind of music. I was basically just listening to that kind of music and nothing else. So I've never been the hugest fan of pop music. And I mean, there's of course, you know, pop music that I like, but there's not like tons and tons of different like artists and stuff over here in the West that I'm super interested in. And so K-pop was really new to me, and so, you know, like dancing, singing, the whole like music video production and just everything was just really new to me. So I think that was what was most interesting to me. And I would say over time, as I've gotten a little bit more desensitized to that kind of aspect, the thing that mostly keeps me attracted still is, I mean, I'm definitely still here for the music. I mean, that's definitely the main thing overall is the music, but like definitely being more invested in the members of the groups I like is what's keeping me around. And I just I think overall just the way that K-pop is always kind of going super fast. Things are always changing, things are always getting released. With that, it's like you almost don't get a chance to lose interest, if that makes sense. My relationship, I guess, with K-pop has kind of changed over the years, just because when I first got into K-pop, I was more into, you know, watching every single new release, checking out as many different things as I possibly could. But now I'm kind of opposite to that, is that I take a really long time to check out the releases that I do want to check out, and I find it kind of hard for things to keep my interest these days, but I don't know. I feel like the things that I was attracted to before, I'm still attracted to now, but it's just more of like what groups I'm paying attention to. Because I have all the groups that I really, really like, and I think more so that small group of like groups and artists is what's keeping me into K-pop, just because it's so much of what I like. So their next question is, what made you want to document your K-pop journey on online platforms like YouTube? So this is kind of like the question I answered a little bit before, but the main thing that I wanted to do when documenting my collection online is I first made an Instagram. So I made my Instagram in about March of 2017, so like 3 years ago. That's so long ago. I wanted to start posting pictures of my collection so I could keep track of it better and just sort of document that way. And then I guess maybe about 6 months later, I started posting videos on YouTube for the same reason. Now I use YouTube as more of a documentation for my collection. I do post collection photos on my Instagram still, but I use YouTube more as an actual documentation. That was like the main goal. It's basically just documentation. So the next question they had is, what do you think about the current environment for K-pop YouTubers versus when you first started out? That's a really interesting question, and I'm not entirely sure how to answer this. This collection community is really niche. It may seem like there is a big community, like there is a large amount of people in this community, but it is still super small compared to any other like type of video I watch. But it has definitely grown a lot, and I think that's a big part of why the environment is kind of different. I do think that the environment for K-pop YouTubers has changed. That's one of the big ways I think it's changed. I think it's changed just because the audience has grown. But I also think one change that I've noticed over the years is I've been watching K-pop collection YouTube for, probably a few years before I even started doing it myself. But one thing that has changed is there's a lot more people on YouTube that collect just one singular group, or like 1 or 2, maybe 3 groups, rather than a whole bunch of different groups. You didn't really see much of that back then than you do now, so I think that's interesting. Okay, my phone ran out of storage, so I apologize if anything changed here. But the next question this person asked is, do you find yourself falling in love with groups easier or harder as you get older? I definitely find it a lot harder. I think ever since I got into Hotshot in 2017, just because I formed such a strong bond with them. Like, they're my ultimate group. They are absolutely everything to me. Like, I don't really know how to explain it, but they're just that group for me, and I just feel really like close with Hotshot. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I feel. Ever since that happened, I think I find it really hard, just because I don't necessarily find myself forming bonds with any other kind of group. Like, there's new groups that I like, but I'm not super into them like I get into certain groups. And I find that I haven't fallen super in love with a group ever since I got super into Hotshot. So And so the next question they had is, what do you think about the attitude and comments, online or in person, directly or indirectly, fans and non-fans have about the appropriate age for liking K-pop? Like, they believe there's an age limit for liking it. So frankly, I think the people who think that there's an age limit to liking K-pop are dumb, because there's not. There's not an age limit to what you can and can't like. Like, I for one am 20 years old. I'm definitely kind of a hag in Stan Twitter, which is why I definitely don't interact much on Stan Twitter. There's a lot of new K-pop fans, and they're all super young, and I was pretty young when I got into K-pop, but it's not something I'm gonna give up just because some people might think I'm too old for it, because that's not the case. Like, a lot of these idols are the same age as me or older, so it's like there's no problem in liking K-pop. So, and even for the people that are older than me, I know there's definitely a lot of older K-pop fans, even maybe in their 30s, 40s, maybe 50s, 60s, who knows? But like, in the end, it's fine. In the end, it is just music, and we're all allowed to listen to whatever we want. So, and then the next question they have is, do you feel pressure to be like other more popular, in quotes, K-pop YouTubers? I don't know. This is kind of a hard question. It's a bit of a yes and a no. I don't necessarily feel pressure, but I don't want this to be taken the wrong way or anything, just because I do have a lot of respect, and I do like all of the, I guess, more popular K-pop YouTubers, like, I guess in the collection community. Like, outside of collection community, I do not give a fuck about anyone else. It's like the bigger YouTubers are basically putting out the same content as everybody else. Everyone else is putting out hauls. Everyone else is putting out photo card collection sorting videos. And I mean, they do, like, the more popular YouTubers do more, I guess, interesting videos sometimes, but it's like a majority of collection videos that everyone puts out are the same. So it's like, I don't know, the difference basically is everyone's personality is different. And I guess the groups people collect are different. But I mean, the people that are popular for a reason. But it's like a lot of the content they're putting out isn't anything different. So, and I don't want that to be taken the wrong way, because I like I said, the more popular YouTubers, they're great people. But I mean, I'm putting out the same stuff that they're. So there's, I guess, more of a pressure to, I guess, keep going and being consistent with YouTube than there is to be like other YouTubers, more popular ones. But hopefully nobody took that the wrong way, because I definitely didn't mean anything negative by that. So, and the next question they had is, what do you think of current trends in the K-pop unboxing channel community on YouTube? Like, more the things you buy and more frequent uploads of large unboxings, the more views you get, versus the less you buy, even if you upload frequently, the less views you get. That's just how people work, basically. People want to see more stuff at a time. I don't know. They just want to see you spend crazy amounts of money at once. I don't know. I mean, it's like the same thing as clickbait. People are going to be more interested if there's more to it, I guess. I think that kind of sucks, just because a lot of really great people can be overlooked because of it. Like, say someone just has a small haul of maybe 1 or 2 things, and they won't really get much attention for it just because maybe the video is like 6 minutes long or something like that. I don't know. I mean, like, it definitely sucks, but it's just the way people work. Like, my longer hauls definitely do get a lot more views than my shorter ones. So, but also it's like the same thing with those photo card sorting videos. People would rather see you put away like a shit ton of photo cards than just like a few. And I don't really know why that's the way people work, but it just seems to be how it is. But I mean, in terms of like trends in this community, there's only so much you can do in terms of like different kinds of content. So, I mean, like, anything new is welcome. I think any new different kind of trend within this community is kind of welcome, at least for me, just because it can be hard to think of different and interesting content to make. It gets to a point where there's only so much you can do in terms of like different kinds of content. So, I mean, if someone comes up with something new, I'm all here. I'm all for it. The next question they have is, how important is conversation engagement to you in regards to your content? It is important. I really love when people comment, at least nice things. I hate when people leave weird, dumb, backhanded comments. That's just how people are on YouTube, I guess. I noticed with a lot of my recent videos, people only really want to comment to, you know, correct something I said or critique something that I'm showing. And they don't really want to comment on what I'm showing, what they like about what I'm showing. And that kind of bothers me, just because I'm here to discuss good things about the music and the people whose music I'm listening to, and I'm not here for you to correct me on if I accidentally mistook a member for a different one, stuff like that. That bothers me a lot. But I would say I really do enjoy when I get comments, you know, talking about the music, maybe talking about maybe the shop or service I bought through, anything like that. Just anything nice. Have a nice conversation with me, and yes, I really enjoy and think that that kind of conversation is important. Just remember, if you comment something nice, I do appreciate it. I do obviously see everything. So the next question is, do you ever become afraid of voicing your opinions, especially when they're not a popular opinion? Like you weren't feeling a group's comeback title track, or you thought the album isn't as great as everyone makes it out to be, etc. I would say no, just because outside of the things I'm buying, I don't talk about much. I only really talk about the albums and stuff that people I'm buying, and I'm always going to be 100% honest about the way I feel, just because I feel like I gain absolutely nothing from lying about the way I feel. I don't have a large enough subscriber count to have my thoughts be like, oh, if I say this, it'll upset them. I will definitely say whatever I want whenever I want on this channel, just because it is my channel. I see absolutely no reason in saying something that I don't believe is true. So if I'm not feeling an album, I'll admit it. If I'm not feeling a single song, I'll admit it. But also, a lot of the times I do take things as they are, and if I don't like it, it's not necessarily a bad thing, and I also don't really think about things too much to be like, oh, I hate this. Like, if I don't like something, I'll say I don't like it and move on. I'm not going to criticize it. I'm not going to go on and on and on about it like some people do. It's just not what I like to do. I definitely like to stick to the positive stuff most of the time, just because, again, I don't really see any significance in talking shit about anything at all. Like if I don't like something, I'm gonna leave it alone, and that's that. So that was that from that person. So then the next question I have, or I guess the next few questions, the first one is, what is your Holy Grail photo card you want to have, or do you have? This is actually kind of a hard question just because I feel like I don't necessarily have any Holy Grail cards. There's one card in particular I can think of that I don't have. That is Hojung's UMB card. It was from their first Korean fan meeting that they did, like either right before, I think it was right before their debut. That's one card I don't have that I can't really find anywhere. I mean, other than that, I feel like I don't take collecting any singular person very seriously to have like a lot of Holy Grail cards. Like there's a whole bunch of NCT cards, like, but I don't really collect outside of album cards for them. Like I do for Taeyong, but I mean not very much. Taeyong's Kino card for the We Are Superhuman album, that was Holy Grail for like a second until I bought it. And I got it for like a reasonable price. But outside of that, I would say I don't really have any Holy Grail cards, to be honest. So the next question they have is favorite K-pop B-sides. So off the top of my head, the ones I can think of are Baby Don't Like It by NCT 127 and Past Thoughts by Brave Girls. Those are like two of my favorite songs ever. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of Uptension songs that are like my favorite. One of them being Ditto, that's from their second mini album, Bravo. I think Priston's Tina is probably one of my favorite B-sides. Twice's Rainbow, that's a good one. Daya's You're Different, that's a great one. A lot of the B-sides on Daya's Love Generation album are great. I'm definitely a person that likes to listen to B-sides. I'm not the person at all to just listen to title tracks from groups. I do listen to albums. I'm thinking I should definitely make a video about my favorite K-pop B-sides, so I think I'll probably do that at some point. So the next question they have is hardest and easiest photo card collection you finished. I can say easiest is probably Twice Jihyo, just because she's just so easy to collect. Twice is easy to collect in general, so. My UMB collection for Hojung was actually pretty easy to collect too, along with Kijung. But in terms of groups that are a bit harder to collect, well, Hotshot isn't easy to collect. Taehyun's solo album I'm still definitely working on, since there's 50 cards in that set. That one's gonna be ridiculously hard. And New East isn't easy to collect for. Yeah, so that's where I'm at with that. Okay, the next question they have is most underrated K-pop album you wish got more attention. And then they said, by the way, I love your videos. You inspired me to collect K-pop photo cards. That's really nice of you, thank you. But to answer the question, basically any Hotshot album. I think Early Flowering is one of the best K-pop albums. I love that album so much. Daya's Love Generation definitely deserves more love. Basically any of Uptension albums, but I definitely think their Burst album should have gotten a lot more recognition than it did. Also, can we talk about, okay, one of my favorite K-pop albums, I don't own it, but it's Romeo's 4th mini album, I think. I can't remember the title off the top of my head, but that album is so good. Like that, they just released that album and like kind of dipped. That album is so good, and they haven't even like had a comeback. That's kind of like an answer that's like so like way out in left field, like the last thing you'd probably expect me to say, but that album is so good, and like I still think about it to this day. I don't know. So I've gone through most of the questions. I have one more left. That question is, which position do you usually bias, like main vocal, rapper, etc., or is it mainly a variety? So I've actually thought about this. I always think one thing, but then it turns out that like that's not true. So like I think, oh well, I bias a lot of vocalists, but then I also realize I stand more rappers than I think. But I don't know, it's really hard because I would have to like put together a cumulative list and see if one thing outweighed the other. So I mean, it's not something that I've ever noticed. It's something that I've like tried to take notice to, but it never turns out to be what I think it is. So I mean, I definitely think it's a variety. So I think that was everything for this Q&A. I apologize if this was super long. I've been talking for a long time, and I'm kind of wondering how long this will be after I edit it down, but hopefully you enjoyed. I got some actually really interesting questions, so I think everyone that left questions for me, I'll definitely do one of these again in the future, but it probably won't be for a while just because I didn't get many questions this time around, so I don't expect to get very many if I did this again anytime soon. So, but with that said, that was everything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.